Hey everybody, welcome to Bura. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about how one of the Udemy's top instructors is using copyrighted material in their course. Alright, welcome back for this video. Make sure that you like, subscribe, more subscribes to get the more content we can make. Number reason why you subscribe to this amazing YouTube channel is to get in the money-making trends before they go mainstream. Alright, so let's take a look at the Udemy stock here. So as you can see that yesterday it didn't really go too well for the stock market, and one of the reasons here is that you can also see that everything is down. There's lots of reasons for this. One of the major reasons is, as I've mentioned, is that since Udemy is on the NASDAQ, a lot of NASDAQ stocks are growth stocks. They're not necessarily value stocks. So a value stock, McDonald's or something that people want, regardless on what is happening in the economy, or like a beer company or something like that. So value stocks aren't really affected by this, but growth stocks are really affected by interest rates because they have to borrow money to grow. And one of the things, and again, Udemy has seen that and shown that year over year, that it does need a lot of money to grow. And obviously, e-learning is a newer category of business, so it's something that's obvious here. But anyway, because Jerome Powell was, appointed for a second term as the head of the Fed, he wants to taper and perhaps raise interest rates, so that wasn't seen as good. Nevertheless, we have bounced off the lows here, and today it was kind of weird. Pre-market, this was down actually a lot, and then it decided to come back up here. But one of the things that I want to look at is the if you look at here, the candlestick patterns on the monthly. Now, of course, you can take a look at the weekly. There hasn't been too much data on this, but the daily chart here, so you can see here that on day one, there was a nice hammer, moves up, down. And of course, if you're not into technical analysis, I completely understand. For me, I always look at technical analysis as kind of a somewhat of a map. It's not a very precise map here, but like if I see a lot of this, I know that there's kind of some indecision here. There isn't a lot of, as you can see here, we moved down here, and now we're kind of coming back up here. But if there's a hammer here like this, I tend to take that a little bit more seriously. But if we look at the 15-minute chart here, or the 30-minute chart, you can see there's not too much that you can look at here, but other than there's some selling here. There's not enough data, and there's actually not enough volume here to really make sense of this. Maybe later I'll do another technical analysis of this, but as of now, it looks like the day chart is probably the most accurate for Udemy. The other thing is that when you're looking at technical analysis, sometimes certain charts work better for others. For example, natural gas really likes the 4-hour chart, and then if you're going to investing.com, you can take a look at the chart. There's a whole bunch of really cool things that you can do, but this is where you can look at like the 4-hour candlestick patterns. Yeah, so like you can see it's not really much here. There's a bit of a gap here, so on the 4-hour, so that might close. Yeah, there definitely is a gap there. So most gaps tend to fill at some point, but it's probably, I don't know if this is really accurate at this point. I don't think there's enough data here, but let's get into today's topic here. So I'm going to be talking about one of Udemy's top instructors here. And again, before I say anything, first, I have nothing but respect for Dr. Angela Yu. And second, I don't want anything bad to happen to Udemy or Angela Yu. So, and I had mentioned this to UHQ a long time ago, but I just want to show you something here. So there's a couple courses where they use some clips from a show called Silicon Valley, and I don't know. I've watched the show. It wasn't bad. Like if you're into like the tech world, it's actually quite funny. I enjoyed it personally. But here's the thing. Like basically, one, they use the logo, and two, they actually started using clips from the show, right? Now there's a couple things. Perhaps she has permission to do this. Now, if she has permission to use, that's great. And again, I have to reiterate, I really don't want anything bad to happen under this. But, you know, for me personally, when I'm making these courses, right, when I'm making, you know, any one of these courses here, I would love to use IP from other companies, right? I'd love to, you know, make an X-Wing in Blender, put it in the Unreal Engine, and then, you know, make a game out of that. That would be amazing. But you can't really do that, right? Because obviously, you know, one of the big companies, and specifically Disney, would be, well, they could sue me, right? Now, I know we're watching this on YouTube, and it's possible that, you know, when you make something on YouTube, like if I were to make a course on YouTube that had that exact thing, if I made an X-Wing in Blender and then put it into the Unreal Engine, you know, I could do that. That's fair use. I'm not charging for that. I'm not charging for it, right? But this course, they are charging for it, right? It's in the course that they're charging. Now, I know it's a free preview, but still, the course is charging. So, you know, again, I'm not a lawyer on this, but generally I like to err on the side of caution because, again, I don't want to have or want to be sued here. Now, the other thing is, like, you know, both of these, like, they're pretty, you know, they're very much, they're big courses, right? And it's their top instructor. And now Udemy is a public company. And what do we do about that? Now, I had mentioned to Udemy that, you know, this was happening. And, you know, just to say, perhaps you should just make them aware of this. And the response, again, this was before they were public, and this was years ago, by the way. But the response was, we don't really deal with copyright claims unless they, you know, unless the copyright holder comes to us, and which is not a bad position, right? However, it's their kind of one of their top instructors, and it just seems like, you know, you're being just a little bit prepared for some eventual backlash here. And it's, you know, the last thing I want is, you know, Udemy to get in trouble for using IP incorrectly, because, you know, now that they're a public company, they're open to much more litigation than they were before. And again, that's just not good, right? And I know it seems silly to have like this simple little clip, but you know what? I've even had some of these copyright claims, and they've been somewhat serious, you know, dealing with logos and whatnot. And they've been actually kind of some, I wouldn't say petty, but like they've been unexpected, right? So it's like I did something, and then the copyright holder came to me and said, well, you can't really do that. I consulted with a lawyer, and then we settled, right? So, you know, and the settlements, you know, at least in my cases, have all been pretty amicable. It hasn't been like a bad thing. But, you know, the last thing I would do is, like, if I made a drawing course where you draw Disney characters, I mean, of course everyone would be all over that, right? But you have to have permission. You have to have permission to do that kind of stuff. And, you know, Silicon Valley is an HBO thing. And I don't know, you know, how strict HBO is about their IP. I would assume somewhat strict because that's what they do. You know, you can't just make... you can't just like rip off their IP. But like, I was really surprised that, like, you know, if I put the Silicon Valley thing, because I'm not like the top instructor on Udemy, if I did that, I don't think anyone would care. But, you know, the top instructor doing that, and again, this is an obsolete course, by the way, which is a whole other video. But anyway, so, you know, this is iOS 11. But, you know, some of the stuff is still relevant here. Anyway, so the thing is they should probably take a closer look at, you know, they should probably take a closer look at this stuff, just because, again, they should, now that they're a public company, they have to act a little bit differently, right? You know, just like if you were at a job and then you start off in a junior position and then you end up being in a senior role, you have to just act a little bit differently. And so the same thing applies when you're a public company. And allowing certain instructors to just use IP without it being flagged in the review process is a little bit tricky. you know, it's a little bit, it's just not good, right? Again, it's because they're selling these things for money, really, is what it is. That's a whole different thing. Anyway, you know, I should reiterate, I hope nothing bad happens of this, but I should mention it because it's something that I think is a risk to you Udemy investors, right? It's you know, it's something that is important in my opinion. All right, so let me know in your comments down below, how big of a deal is this? If you're a lawyer, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. But in any event, again, that pretty much concludes this video. If you really like this video, you can buy our digital products down below because we don't do a Patreon here. And if you have any other comments about Udemy or Udemy stock or anything I should cover, please write them down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.